Are we ready?
Okay.
Well, good morning, everyone. I had been asked about expireds and for sale by owners from one of our new agents, and I had told Alicia to put it on the schedule, and she needed something for today. So it worked out that that happened quickly. It's funny because I don't normally wear just a t-shirt, but I did this on purpose. If you see my t-shirt, it says Lake Highlands, Texas. And that just kind of reminded me to tell you, you should start where you know and start preferably where you live or where you know or where you want to work with all of them. Because if you do that, I mean, you'll have a little bit of an advantage or leg up, even if you're brand new. If you live in a neighborhood, you have a vested interest in that neighborhood. So that's something you can use when you're contacting anybody, whether it be for sale by owners, expireds, going on a listing appointment, trying to get a buyer. If you live there or you have knowledge of that area, then that helps you to have an advantage over another agent that may not live there. Even if they're a top producer, if you live there and they don't, you can say that and possibly give a little higher level of service if you're close by. But anyway, let's start, I guess, with expireds. The key to expireds is, I think at one time, this was years ago, but at one time, I think I had to call 60 some odd expireds. At the time, I had an assistant that helped me. And I had to call 60 some odd expireds before I got a listing from it. So it's not something where, I mean, you might call one and get it, but it's more of a numbers game. And luckily now there's fewer, well, luckily and unluckily, there's fewer expireds for you to call. I mean, that makes your job more focused and less work. And if you do it right, you can capture those few that are out there. But the first thing to do is, pick an area. Like think, this is where I live. Like me, for instance, I don't really do expireds as much anymore, but I still go in at least every couple of weeks and look and see what's expired. And if it's something, and honestly, over the past couple of years, there haven't been hardly any expires. So if somebody has a question, speak up, but if not, I'm gonna keep going. But there haven't been very many. So now with the market changing slightly, I think we're going to see some price reduction, some expireds, things that are canceled, withdrawn. And that's an opportunity for you. If you're looking at a certain area, you can go into MLS and you can draw a map, do a zip code, however you identify your area, and then pull the expireds for sure. You can also pull the cancel and withdrawns. Now, I've found canceled and withdrawns aren't always like expireds, except in some neighborhoods, there are agents that will not let their listings expire. They will cancel them before they expire. So you don't see it as an expired and call their client. So, that's something you can think about when you're pulling. For sure, pull expireds, pull canceled and withdrawns, and just look at what they are and see if you can figure out. I mean, it doesn't hurt to call them and say, hey, I noticed you withdrew your listing or you canceled your listing. Did you decide not to sell? There's little things you can say to them once you identify who you're going to call. But the first thing is identify your area, pull the expireds. I always look at the history when I open up the expired listing on MLS. I'll hit that little clock, which is the history button. Excuse me. And I'll look and make sure it's not relisted. Because if a property is relisted, at that point, you're not allowed to contact them. When it's active, you're not allowed to contact them. When it's expired, they're fair game. You can call them, go to their front door if you want. But once you identify those specific expireds, then it's up to you how you want to reach out to them. I've done everything from have a postcard campaign that I had made where, I had 3 postcards and I sent one the day it expired. I would check them and see if they were still expired and send another one, then send another one, make phone calls. I've even, at one point, I would go to their door, with a packet, a market analysis, and knock on their door and try to have a conversation with them. And that actually worked some of the time. And that's kind of your comfort level. Some people will never, ever, 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 ever door knock, and other people that they're not afraid of it at all. So it's kind of up to you. But I would say at a minimum, make a phone call. Now, I do want to tell you, back to kind of my experience in my history, when I started over 20 years ago, nobody did expireds. So there were 2 or 3 of us. And every time I'd go on a listing appointment for an expired, it would be the same 2 or 3 of us that were interviewing for that listing. And that was great because it helped me build my business back then. Well, then when the market kind of dipped in 2008, everybody started doing expireds to get more business and to have business and make money. And a lot of the trainings and coaches, the big coaches, were teaching expireds at that point. So you had everybody doing them, and I still did them at that time, but you had to differentiate yourself from those other agents because a lot of them were big teams that they didn't know the neighborhood. They didn't care. And they would do these gimmicky things where if I don't sell your house in, 60 days, I'll give you $1,000 at closing. And I would have to tell these old ladies that I was interviewing with, that says at closing. So you've got to stick with them till the house closes before they'll give you that $1,000 for not selling it within 60 days. So, in 2008, people came in with all these gimmicky things and it was harder. And then, here we are now, we're just coming off of a 2 or 3 year time where anybody could sell a listing pretty much. You put a sign in the yard, put it in MLS, and it's sold right away. So it's been easy to sell. So people have stopped, well, not completely, but some people have stopped doing expireds and for sale by owners. So I think now's a good time for you to try them. Dip your toe in the water, try to see if you can find some success in it. But when you call, everybody says, what do I say? And here's exactly what I would say when I would call. I would say, I noticed that your listing expired, and I just wanted to see if you were still wanting to sell and if you were interviewing other agents. And that's what I would say. And you would get everything from, no, we decided not to move, or I'm using my current agent again, or I've already had 40 phone calls this morning, and they'd hang up on you. I mean, I hardly ever had them cuss me out, but I have once or twice. So, you have to have a thick skin and just make that call, but be friendly, be nice. If they're grumpy because they've had 40 phone calls that morning, then, just say, I'm sorry to hear that. Have a good day. And that's because there's training, like different coaches and gurus that tell people to do expired. So they, can you not call, you cannot call them till it has expired. That was a question in the chat. Some people unethically and inappropriately will see a listing's been on a while and they'll call, but they're not supposed to. They can be turned in because whoever the listing agent still has an active listing with that client, and you're not allowed to contact them. But once you call them and find out, they'll tell you right away. If they don't want to talk to you, they do. And sometimes they'll ask you, well, what are you going to do different? And you have to have something ready to say. It can be, look at the listing and see if there's anything incorrect, whether it be information. I've had it where people didn't know the area, they put the wrong schools in. And back to my shirt, Lake Collins, I know if they put the wrong schools in. And we're not supposed to steer people from certain schools, but I know that if it's in North Lake Elementary, it's not worth as much as if it's in White Rock Elementary. And if somebody uses comps from White Rock and prices a North Lake house, then they've priced it too high. And that's something that I know because I know the area, and another agent may not. So if you see they've made an error, and I've even seen them put the wrong schools in there, and they've have it in North Lake when it should be in White Rock or Lake Highlands or Wallace. So you want to look at the listing. It used to always be the pictures. The pictures would be really bad, and it would not put the house in the best light. So that's where I would jump in and say, I use professional photographers that are the best in the business, and people buy sometimes completely online nowadays. So look at that listing and see if there's anything wrong, and do the numbers and see if the price is where it should be. Because I've had them, it's not the price. The price is fine. I've had them when the price is too high, so you want to have something in mind when you call them, because if you get past the no, they're going to ask you, that's always their first question. What are you going to do different than my last agent? And many times they're going to say, well, my last agent was my sister or my cousin or my best friend. How am I going to switch? Well, I always just say it's a business transaction. You have to use the person that's going to, produce the best results for you. So you'll have those hurdles, but if you can just start conversation with them, that's good. And then of course, I always say, because they'll say, did you show my house? Do you have a buyer? Well, no, I haven't seen it. I'd love to come see it. Can I come take a tour and meet with you? Whatever you can do to get in the door and set an appointment with them, you need to do. So that's what I would do with expireds. And then keep an eye on them. Once you make that initial contact, if you don't get some information that causes you to stop contacting them, then keep contacting, and ask them, where are you now in making a decision with relisting? Just keep up with them. And I promise you, agents will call once, some will call twice, very, very, very few will call a third time. So if it's a listing you really want, and it's like in your neighborhood or something, be persistent and stay, always be coming from a viewpoint of helping them, but just be persistent, because if you're most of the time, the most persistent person wins. You can use KV Core to keep up with these people. Yes, you can. Not to sound dumb, but how do you get their numbers? Oh, that's a great question. We used to have to use services and pay people, but now the best place to find them is truepeoplesearch.com. So if you go to truepeoplesearch.com, you can put in an address, you can put in a phone number, you can put in somebody's name, and it pulls everybody that's lived in that house, like for quite a while. I don't know how long, but go onto the tax records, or even just hit realist tax on the MLS sheet. You can hit realist tax and it'll show you who the true owner is. And once you see that owner's name, when you pull up the address in truepeoplesearch.com, find that person's name and their phone number, and it lists their cell phone numbers, their home numbers. It typically lists every number they have. So, that's how you can find their number. Call them, keep up with them. But expireds are different than for sale by owners, because expireds have already said, I'm willing to use an agent. I just may have used the wrong one. And so, tell them why they should use you, and find a reason that, that they didn't sell, because they're going to ask you why it didn't sell. And then another thing they always ask is the days on market. Like, will that reset to 0? And it will if you leave it off the market more than 30 days. So if sometimes if it's the time of year, like if it was Thanksgiving and they were asking me that, I would say, yes, absolutely. Let's take it off the market. Let's put it back on January 1st. But if it was right now, I wouldn't tell them to take it off the market for 30 days just so those days reset to zero, because a smart agent is going to go back when they have a buyer and look at the history. They're going to look at the history to see, what it sold for before, or if it's been on the market before. And so, that's just kind of smoke and mirrors to trick people to set it back at zero. But if you relist one that immediately, it's going to say days on market zero, but cumulative days on market, CDOM, it'll have whatever the total is above. So that's a question that they ask a lot. But as far as expireds, at least they're willing to use an agent, versus a for sale by owner. So any specific questions about expireds? As I drink my coffee. Nothing?
So I want to make sure everybody knows, I put it in the chat, but you can use KV Core to add these people. I would do it individually. I would make sure they're not on any campaigns, but then you can add in calls, reminders that you can do if you have trouble. That's what a CRM does. It's called a customer relationship management database. So those kinds of things you can add in. If you mined the data and got a whole bunch, 10, 12, 15, 30, whatever it is, you can go into KV Core and ask them to add those for you. No problem. They can do that. So you don't have to do each one individually, but you might want to make sure you do it anyway, just to make sure that they don't get any campaigns. If you need instructions on how to do that on KV Core, log in to KV Core and go to the help bot, and there will be instructions on how to do that. Or go to the agent training that's up in the right-hand corner. Does everybody understand where to go on MLS to find this information? You need to come off mute and talk to us.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
The numbers has been my problem.
The phone numbers?
Yeah, that's been my biggest problem.
Yeah, truepeoplesearch.com is the best one I've found. There's services out there that used to pull numbers, but they were worse. The numbers weren't even as good as you get from True People Search.
I put the link in the chat, truepeoplesearch.com. Everybody take that, put it onto your computer now. Who else has a question? What about, let's do some role playing of talking through some stuff.
Madeline says fastpeoplesearch.com is also a good one. I haven't tried that.
Good to know.
Okay.
Chip, how about we do some role playing? You're going to call Kevin and you're going to ask him to about an expired. Okay, Kevin, you're the homeowner. You ready?
Oh
Chip?
my. Sure. Ring ring.
Hello.
Hey, is this Kevin?
It is.
Kevin, I see your property over on Devonshire has come up on expired, and I was wondering if you oh my gosh, the brain. If you had any questions, because I'm trying to look for ways of service to help Kevin, and try to fill in that and find out what had occurred during that his last experience. So how was your experience, Kevin?
Well, it did expire, and I've had like 40 agents call me this morning, so I don't know what I'm going to do. It's frustrating.
Well, why were you looking at moving? What was your goal there?
We wanted to sell this house and buy a bigger one.
Okay. Well,
But
there's
now,
a lot of interest.
now I don't know what we're going to do, because the house we wanted is sold and mine didn't sell, and so I don't know what happened, but maybe I hired the wrong agent.
Well, it's definitely an interesting market out there, and things keep changing on that. There's several ways we could look at this. So you were happy with your agent. You're looking at different ways, but you still want to move. You're still looking at selling and moving.
I do.
Okay.
So what would you do different than my last agent?
Let's pretend
we
it's
would love to come.
pictures.
Yes, it's pictures. We would love to see the property. We don't see very many good pictures online. We would like more expansive on that area. We would like to bring a photographer in that could do 3D imagery and what do you call it? A walkthrough, virtual walkthrough of your property, both inside and out, is one of the items that we do. We're networked in the neighborhood. We would love an opportunity to show you our portfolio of what we've done in the past and how we would go about marketing your property.
Well, I told him I didn't like those pictures online, so you know that's a good point. And I guess I mean if you have a better photographer and connections in the neighborhood, I guess we could at least meet and you could take a look at the house and tell me what you think.
I've got 11 o'clock tomorrow morning open, or tomorrow at 4 o'clock. What would work for you?
4 o'clock.
Let's do that.
Awesome.
Good job, Chad.
Well, that's perfect that
Thank
you
you.
didn't, you didn't leave it open. You just gave 2 times, which that's what you should do.
Okay,
and,
who
you
else
know-
wants to practice? Oh, sorry, Kevin.
No, I was just gonna say, it just depends on the person. Sometimes they're super nice, and you won't get an appointment, and sometimes they're super grumpy and you will. So you just never know.
And don't drive them down. Keep them neutral and hit them again, or try to get an opening so you can call them back.
Well, if they're talking to you anyway, then that's good.
Okay, so I'm not a role player, but I would have to see something to be able to work on it. But wouldn't you want to just bring up all the reasons they wanted to sell in the first place, so they keep rehashing the problems they didn't like about their house?
Well, you want them to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to get them talking, and that's the hardest part because so many people don't want to talk anymore. I mean, if you
Yeah.
know, most of us want to just text now. So getting them talking is the key. I don't care how you do it. I mean, even if you're like, oh my gosh, I drove by and like my front door is apple green, and everybody's always like, I love the color of your front door. So I mean, even if you drove by and you like something about the exterior of their house, you can go, oh my God, I drive by your house all the time and I love that color of that front door. Or, if you have something you can say that gets them talking and more comfortable. It's just like when I go on a listing appointment. I don't talk right away. I walk in and I tell them, hey, can you give me a tour before we even sit down and get started? So then they give you a tour, they tell you what they like about their house, what they don't like about their house, and and then you get time to decide, what type of personality they are, whether they're detail oriented, whether they're not. I mean, I had a meeting yesterday with somebody and it was funny because I knew their motivation. I knew what they needed or wanted. And so I didn't go through all the stuff that I could have went through. I just went straight to the point. So I think, if you can get them talking and comfortable with you, that's the key. And don't ever, 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 ever sound like you're reading a script, because so many people get handed a script and they call them and they read that script. And there's companies that give them a script and they've got 10 people calling them with the same exact words. That drives me crazy. I hate it. And I think other people do too. So, maybe do some bullet points so you have it in front of you and have something to say, but don't be as comfortable as you can, and even practice, like we just did now, but just practice with your, significant other, your friend, somebody, or just by yourself in the mirror, just make sure that you kind of know how to take those objections.
I think it's a great tip to maybe start with research, find 5 or 2 or whatever in your neighborhood that you drive by. Find those, go look at their house, see something remarkable about it, write it down, and then call the person about it and say, hey, I was in your neighborhood, I live near you, and I saw your house, and this thing is cute, that your green door, I just love that. I saw that your listing is expired. I wanted to talk to you about it. and go from there. That way you have something interesting, specific to them to talk about, and you're not scrambling for a script or something.
Your initial statement, have that ready. And like I said, I always said, hi, my name's Kevin Caskey. I'm a real estate agent in the neighborhood. I noticed that your listing expired, and I just wanted to find out if you're still wanting to sell and if you're interviewing other agents. And that way they had the opportunity to say, heck no, and hang up on me, or, well, we don't know. But just, I had something professional to say that rolled off my tongue, that it didn't sound like a script, and then I could get a conversation started.
Off subject, Alicia, you look amazing. I haven't seen you in so long. You look really good.
Thanks.
You look great.
And I'll kind of transition over to for sale by owners. If y'all think of questions about expireds, just let me know. But for sale by owners are totally different. Well, not totally different, but they are, because they haven't listed with an agent. And we had a training at the office the other day, and the person doing the training, we were role playing, and he asked the question about, why are you selling your house on your own? And almost every person answered, because I've had a bad experience with a realtor. And it's either that or they think they're going to save money. And I don't know the current statistics, but through the years, the National Association of Realtors have done studies that for sale by owners almost always sell for less than they would sell on the open market. And if you need those current statistics, you could go on to those sites, and they probably have them somewhere. But the point is, as a realtor and putting in an MLS, you're going to get more attention, of course, than a sign in their yard, or even if they list on some of these for sale by owner sites. And then there's even some that list in MLS. There's these services that'll charge a fee and put it in MLS for them, and that's all they do. But back to their motivation. Most of them don't like realtors. They think they'll make more money. So when I call and I come from a place of helping them. And I say, hey, I live in the neighborhood. I have buyers all the time in this neighborhood. I need to know the inventory. So can I come and take a look at your house and meet with you, and keep it in mind in case I do have the perfect buyer for it. And they'll almost always say, I'm busy, but sure, I'll meet you at the house. So you go over there, you meet with them, you walk the house, you get to know them, and don't give them too much information. Like, don't give them a lot of advice. Just let them talk. I don't even bring a market analysis with me the first time. I just look it up and do a market analysis, but I don't bring it to give to them. Just so I know, if they ask, if they specifically ask, do you think it was my price? Do you think I'm, why I haven't sold? Am I too high, too low? You can keep that in mind, but save your information. That's your worth. So when you go in and look at the house, I always, I've done it two ways. When it's just me, at the very end, I always say, I know you're wanting to sell it yourself, but if you decide to use an agent, please, think of me and interview me when you do. And I've done it too, where I went with somebody that was more of the buyer's agent, and I was there saying, hey, I'm here, and if you want to, list it. That's kind of when you have a team concept. But basically, just tell them at the very end, but don't harp on listing it, because that's what all agents do. They always call and just tell them you're stupid for doing for sell by owner, and you need to list it with me. Don't do that. Come from an angle of, I'm going to help you all I can until you need me to list the house for you. And I always give this example. There was a for sale by owner on Mockingbird. Every day I would drive and I would see that for sale by owner sign, and I would call and the person wouldn't answer, and I would leave a message and basically just say, hey, I noticed your sign is still up. How's it going? Have you had any offers? Have a great day. And then a couple of days would go by, 2 or 3, I'd still see the sign, and I'd call again and say, hey, it's Kevin again. I just wanted to check in. I just wanted to let you know I'm here. I drive by the house every day, so it's on my mind. I'm here if you need me. And I did that probably, I would say at least 8 times. And the guy calls me and he goes, I want to talk to you because you're so persistent. And my answer was, well, imagine if you give me the listing, how persistent I'll be. So, and it was a weird situation because it was actually 2 men and they had met, they were both selling their houses and they'd already bought another one. Well, one of them, not the one I was talking to, the other one hated realtors, like hated realtors. And so they bought their house with a realtor, but they wouldn't sell the other 2 with a realtor. They wanted to sell them on their own. And they'd been trying for a while. The other one said, I'm going to give him a shot. Well, the other one, he wouldn't even shake my hand. Like he was so mean. And so I ended up listing that house, selling it. And then the other one said, well, you did a good job. I guess I'll let you sell mine. And so I listed his and sold his. And he actually, after that, warmed up, started inviting me to their Christmas party because they moved to Lake Highlands where I live. And so, I got through to him because I proved to him that all realtors aren't bad. And that was his opinion and why they were for sale by owner. But the point of my story is be persistent, because that's why I got the phone call back and the listing. But I was nice, I wasn't like ugly or, anything. So you just have to, be persistent and call more than once. They're not going to remember if you call once because they're going to have a bunch of people call once. So you have to stay in contact with them. And back to the tour, once you tour the house and leave, send them something. Send them a handwritten note, send them a video text, send them, something and or call them and just say, hey, I was thinking about the house. Give them one tip, give them just something little. And saying, I'm going to continue trying to find a buyer for you. And I'll go back to that. When you do that, if you do find a buyer, whether it be, if you do have a buyer, you're looking in a neighborhood and call it for sale by owner, or if you're looking to list one, always talk to them about, whether they're willing to offer a buyer's agent commission, because you don't ever want to show a house and then they're like, no, I don't want to pay a commission. Now, with our listing agreements and with the new changes at Texas Realtors, as far as we're not really supposed to say buyers services are free because they're paid by the seller. We're not supposed to say that anymore, even though they are. Your buyer could pay your commission on a for sale by owner, but most of them don't expect to, because it's typically and traditionally paid by the seller. So you want to have that conversation, maybe not the first meeting, but before you bring a buyer or before you go much further, you just want to make sure they're even willing to pay a buyer's agent commission. And then stay in contact with them, and then at one point, they're going to ask you, well, I haven't sold yet. Am I overpriced? And then you can provide them things slowly, a market analysis, things like that, but try to develop that relationship before you start giving things away to them, because people are selfish. They'll take it and they'll use somebody else, or they'll take it and, sell it without you. So, you just want to develop that relationship. And that's what that meeting at the house is for. That's what your follow-up should be for. And, even if it's find them on social media and, friend them on Facebook and start sending them little things that that Alicia designs that we can send out to people, things like that. I mean, anything you have that you can see, that you're active in that area. Questions on that?
I do just I guess a quick question. And I guess Alicia and admin, please earmuffs on this one, but I don't want to seem of cherry picking. Or is there something when you're going through your list and expired that you're looking for that you're going to go, I want to call this one first. I want to call this one first and this one second. Is there, I'll take the whole handfuls, but is there one that I'm calling first? Is there something that sticks out for you?
Well, I always say the ones you want to list the most. I mean, if it's a house that you're like, why the heck did that expire? I think I could sell that right away.
Okay,
Call them. I always say, start small because, when I first did expireds, I did all of Dallas and surrounding areas. So, I mean, I would do a huge area. But then through the years, I narrowed it down to a smaller area because more people were doing them and I wanted to have a leg up. So it was more where I lived, my expertise, I've sold houses here. So, I always say narrow it down to the area that you know or want to know and do that because then it's easier. But no, there's no rules or I mean, it doesn't matter what order you call them in, just call them. I mean, I used to, my little logo was the Nike symbol for this class because I would say just do it, because if you do it, that it works eventually. I mean, if you call enough people, you're gonna get a yes eventually. Like Chip and I did that. I was a little nice and gave them an appointment, but you'll get people that'll at least meet with you. So
You also get a lot of experience of what to say and what not to say.
yes.
I mean, it's quick, easy. It's quick experience that you will be able to instantly start working with.
And a lot of the
Right.
people you're
Supposed to
competing
prove.
with are not, I hate to say this, are not genuine. They don't really care about the sellers. They don't live in the area. They're just machines. They're basically, they do expireds throughout and if you are more personable and have something relatable, then you'll beat out those people because people see through that. They see through scripts, they see through cheesy marketing stuff. So if you're genuine and you can start getting them talking to you, then you'll win.
And when somebody screams and yells and you just call Kevin and cry to him because he'll be happy to help you through that because it's going to hurt. It's not going to feel good. At the end of the day, you're going to be like, this is not fun anymore, but just call Kevin and he can talk you through, oh, I would not have said that, or, oh, maybe you could have tweaked this here, or any of those things. He's had a lot of experience with it, and he would be more than happy to walk you through that.
And
I'm
everybody
putting
gets
his phone number and email on the chat. Email, he doesn't do a lot of email, but he does do text, and it's very fast. Like he will call you or text you right back.
And everybody's nervous. I mean, it's just like, I love when they talk about video, everybody hates the way they look and sound on video. Well, guess what? That's what you look and sound like. So it's the same way with calling. I mean, you just have to pick up the phone and call. But I love that we have so many other things. Like when I have somebody I hate to say stalking, but if I'm stalking them for their listing, I'll look them up on social media and I'll see who we have friends in common and I'll see, what they like and that sounds creepy, but I mean, you kind of have to, then you know who you're dealing with. If you're dealing with somebody that's artsy or somebody that's an engineer, or, you'll know how to approach them. But I do that. Like, I mean, mine's so specific to my little area that I'll look them up. Even I'm on this lead generation service that I really don't get a lot of success from, but I get some notifications, and one was somebody here in this area, and she evidently is not using a realtor because she's just going online and looking at houses and asking for information. But the key, she has 7 children. And so most houses aren't going to work for her. And the ones that she's called about 2 that I got notifications on, and they were both 5 bedrooms. So I know she needs 5 bedrooms plus. And I've reached out to her and she hasn't reached out to me yet, but I sent her a friend request on Facebook. I did, because I'm like, if she accepts it and she sees that I'm connected to this community and I have kids in the schools and I have this, then she may feel comfortable and call me. So, we have ways now that we didn't when I started that you can find out more about people, and get information to help you, help them. So I would say use social media avenues, use, Google people, do things. If it's a listing you really want, research it, go back and look and find out information on it. And so you can target certain ones. I mean, I certainly have. And you can
Madeline
watch,
is asking. Oh yeah, you can watch them too.
you can watch them. Like if something's been on the market a long time, like just keep an eye on it. And then whenever it expires, hit it right away.
Madeline's asking, what's the difference between canceled and withdrawn? If they're canceled or withdrawn, are we allowed to call them just like expired?
Yes, you can. Typically, canceled means they're canceling. They're not selling. Withdrawn typically means that it's just withdrawn for a certain amount of time. That's kind of how MLS looks at it. But truthfully, agents don't enter information correctly. So that you kind of can throw that out the window, because agents sometimes will cancel a listing right before it expires. So other agents won't call that person.
Okay, so when you say because they don't want them to call your client, that confuses me, because if all three options, technically they're off the market, you should be able to contact them, yes?
You're able to, but a lot of people just pull expireds. So where
But
if a
why?
listing expires, let's say they'll get 40 phone calls. If you cancel it, a lot of people that work expireds don't pull canceled and withdrawals. So you might get 8 phone calls. So agents sometimes, so their client gets less phone calls, they'll cancel or withdraw it rather than let it expire. Because if they let it expire, they're going to get more phone calls, just because a lot of people don't mess with canceled and withdrawals because they think it's canceled, so they don't want to sell. So a lot of people just pull expireds. So that's the difference. But I found that, and the reason I always mention that is because I pull cancel, because I know the neighborhoods and the agents that cancel their listings before they expire. There's certain ones I've known through the years that do. So if it's that agent, I'm like, oh, that expired, and they just canceled it the day before.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure. Any other specific questions? I mean, it's really just do it. I mean, pull those expireds. When you're driving around and you see for sale by owner, just take out your phone, take a picture of the sign and the address, and either call it right then. I did that for a while. I said every for sale by owner I see, I'm gonna call, like right when I see the sign. And I did that because a couple times I didn't call and a realtor sign popped up like the next day, and I was like, dang, I should have called them. So, for a while I made it a point, every time I saw a for sale by owner, I called right away. And I just introduced myself and said, I'd love to make an appointment to see the house. So if you
Kevin,
do,
question. So for sale by owners, you cannot send anything in the mail to them, right?
no, you can.
Oh, you can? I thought there was
Yeah.
something that was like against you mailing, I don't know.
Now somebody may have told you can't hand put something in the mailbox. That's just
Oh, okay.
that's
probably what
a mail system rule.
Yeah.
Oh.
I've done that, but you're not supposed to.
You
Um,
rebel.
But or lean it up against their door or something. You can do that. But
Okay.
no, you can. They're fair game. You can call, you can message, you can do all that.
Okay, cool.
But one thing I will say, if you get home from seeing a for sale by owner and you're on the computer, pull up MLS and put that address in and see if it comes up, because sometimes they have a for sale by owner sign and they list with one of those limited service brokers, and they are in MLS. And technically, if they're in MLS, we're not supposed to contact them. I mean, you can claim ignorance, because if you see the sign and call the number, if they don't have a real estate sign out front, you could say, I didn't know, so, but I would say just best advice, go home and just make sure it's not an MLS. And you want to pull history anyway, and see what they paid for it or what the market what it should be. Any other questions? Who's gonna do it?
Me.
Okay, Kevin, you
saw
should
most-
I
expect
was a
some phone
collection
calls.
agency. I was a collection agent. I don't care if they yell at me. It's how to
Oh,
get their
see.
phone numbers. That was my problem.
That's perfect. And you know, I found that the people that don't have fear of doing that really do best. You know, I always say you don't have to be like that to be a realtor, because some of us get our business from, you know, referrals and friends and family. But you know, if you're gonna prospect like this, you just kind of have to have a thick skin and not care. I mean, and I say that, but you know, I could only make so many calls a day. You know, I would get up in the morning after the appropriate time to call them. Don't call too early. Don't call before 8 o'clock. You won't get a good response, and don't call after like 8:30 at night. You know, call, you know, between like 8 a.m. and probably 7:30, 8 p.m. at the latest. But you know, I just found that I couldn't call more than a dozen a day, or I just, you know, it kind of wears on you. But it depends. New Year's Day used to be my biggest day, because people would put listings to expire December 31st all the time. And so I'd wake up New Year's Day, I would pull the expireds, and I would start calling, and there would be literally hundreds. And I would just start calling. And you know, some people are like, it's New Year's Day. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm working.
Would you
So-
say that that happens on the 31st of each month? You think a little bit more often?
Oh, yeah.
Put that
Yeah.
on the first of the month?
If you're picking a day to pull, the first of every month is probably the best, because they're
Yeah.
going to be more expire at the end of the month, because most people put it to expire at the end of a month. But I was just giving that example of New Year's Day because it's nobody's, well, nobody, most people are not calling expireds on New Year's Day. So I used to have fun with that, you know, in the very beginning, because I'm like, I'm gonna call them. Dialers. Someone asked about dialers. You know, I didn't have good experiences with that. I've tried everything from the companies that give you, well, let me go back. If you had a list of numbers and you could use a dialer, that would be great. But these are so random that you're pulling individual numbers. It's just harder to do that.
And my phone blocks dialer calls.
Yeah, that's true.
So my doctor can't call.
And I think if you're pulling a specific neighborhood, you're not going to see a huge amount of calls. Like, I mean, you're in Lake Highlands. I mean, we weren't having any expireds forever. And now we're starting to see, you know, I mean, I would say no more than 2 or 3 a week. So my pool of expireds is very small right now. Now, it may, once we get more things on the market, I think you'll see more expireds throughout the summer, and especially when we get into the fall. You know, toward the fall and winter, you know, you'll get more expireds, because those ones that didn't sell will expire, and then you can call them. Any other questions?
Interesting stuff. Thanks for your time and knowledge today, for sure. This is something to hopefully that becomes lucrative for all of us.
No problem. I mean, when I started, I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know, like, I mean, I knew to talk to my friends and family and, you know, look for business that way, but I didn't have a consistent daily thing to do. And so this was my consistent daily thing. I would pull expireds every day. I would do this. And Alicia talked about KV Core. I did it old school. I would actually print out the MLS sheet, and then I'd turn it over. And on the back, I would just write, you know, 12-1, called, left message, you know, 12-3, called, left message, 12-4, you know, I would document on the actual MLS sheet. And I know that's so old school, but, you know, another agent I know, she used to use recipe cards, like one of those little boxes and index cards. She would use those for her expireds. So however you do it, it doesn't matter, but just, be consistent and keep in contact, because if you're the person that calls 4 times versus to 1 or 2, they'll remember you. So just try it, and it can't hurt.
Yeah, it's almost so like a free lead generation source, really. I mean,
Absolutely. I like that attitude, because it is. I mean, it really is. Anything else? Well, I appreciate y'all getting on and listening. And Alicia, is there anything else we need to announce or say?
Nope, I don't think so. Not today. I am
All
working on some social media posts that I'm going to work on getting out. I did put some stuff on the Facebook page for spring. You're welcome to use it. Make sure you go check those out, but I'll work on some more as well. And if you want any of those, look in the hub, because I have them all linked there.
So
If you
how
don't know where the
often-
hub is, let me know.
Okay. Well, I
What
appreciate
was,
y'all.
Madeline, what was your question?
Well, just a quick little rabbit trail on the marketing stuff. How often do you think it's beneficial to post? Because I'm not very good at social media and I want to get better, right? But I don't want to be like, oh, every day for a week and then never do again, right? Like I want to, have something more consistent, but like what's the variable
How
there?
often do you post personally?
Personally, not often.
How often do you get on and check?
Like maybe every other day.
Okay, then I would post once a week to
Okay.
start. Just
Okay.
do one little post that says, hey, didn't know if you know, but I do real estate now. Hey,
Okay.
didn't know if you know, but I also flip houses. Hey, look at these cool before and afters. For you, that's perfect for you.
Yeah.
For Etsy or Michelle, Etsy or Michelle or something, that's going to be totally different. But for you, you're going to want to put your little face and your phone number on a image, and then maybe you want the next time you're going to want to say something about, look at this cool before after. Maybe you're going to say something like, hey, I just was in this neighborhood, saw this amazing house. So you can do it in a way that is not salesy, not overdone. But I certainly would not go, for you, I would not go more than once a week. For Kevin, that's totally different. Kevin's on all the time. He's talking to people all the time. I might go for Kevin 2 or 3 times a week, but Kevin even doesn't do that. Instead, what Kevin does is he posts, hey, I'm at a realtor event. Hey, here's this spring post that I'm going to put up. Here's this. So he mixes his up, and then he puts all of his kids' stuff and all of his family stuff. He's very good intertwining. That's definitely the way to go. So if you want to do more social media marketing, the best way you can do it is just start with once a week with the stuff I give you. There is enough stuff on the hub for you to last once a week for the whole year. There's enough content there. And if there's not, if you want something different, you let me know. I will make it for you, or I will help you get it figured out. Then I would add in personally posting things, because nothing will be seen unless you do a little bit more than nothing. Nothing means no one will see it. But if you put in a post here or there, they will be seen. The other thing is, if someone responds to your post, respond back. Not just with a little heart, but so great to see you. I miss you. Or so right. Look at this crazy thing with this house, whatever it is. But words, comment words to people's comments. One, it validates them. 2, it validates the algorithms.
And like Alicia said, you have a different situation, because you could do before and afters. You could even do initial walkthroughs, like, look how bad this house is, and like do a video. Because I used to work with a girl that she had a very, very, very thick accent, and she was beautiful, but she hated the way she sounded on video. And I'm like, really? People love that. People love an accent. I'm like, you're too hard on yourself. So I made her start videoing and posting, because she didn't post anything personal. She didn't do videos. And I made her start posting just occasionally, like she's out with her kids or her family post, do a video on on a listing. And once she did that, I said, now mix in your marketing pieces. And like Alicia said, you've got to have some personal and you've got to have some business, or people get bored with you. If it's all business, they get bored. And so I have to throw in, my kids are almost 16, almost 17. So my son specifically does not like his picture posted on social media. So I have to be really selective on what I post of him. And lately people are like, I thought you had a son. I'm like, I do, but he's a teenager. So, but my daughter, she's on all those platforms. So she's on, I have her as my like quality control. Like she'll tell me, Pops, you shouldn't be posting that or whatever. So, but she's normally pretty nice, but you have to have a good mix or people get bored, because if you just do real estate, then they think you're just on it for that. But if you mix it in and do personal stuff, then they really like it. And I think I don't do very many videos, but I think that especially lately, I've seen when I do a TikTok video, I'm getting more and more views each time I do it. So I think people see you and then they're like, oh,
Video is the way to go. Algorithms will pick up video more than they'll pick up anything else, which is sucky because no one wants to be on video, but that's really what's trending.
Well, and I thought I'm old. I don't need to be on TikTok, but I am. And now I love when I do a video on TikTok because that you can go longer now. And the quality of the video is amazing. Like I did one the other day and I'm like, this looks so much better than my regular phone. And then if you do it on TikTok, then you can share it on Instagram and Facebook and everything else. So there's ways to, have even better video, but if you just get your phone out, most of our cameras are pretty good, and just do a quick video. It doesn't have to be professional. Any of the technology gurus, they're just like, just do it. If you're not doing anything, you're not getting any results.
I will also say, if what's the age of our Gen Z, right? If you know a Gen Z person, have them help you. They will say, oh no, you do your videos this way. Oh no, all you have to do is stitch your pictures together. Whatever that means. But I'm telling you, find a person, a millennial or younger, that can be your new best marketing friend, and they'll be like, no, that's no problem at all. And you could probably pay them like 25, 50 bucks a month, and they would do all those things for you because they like it and they don't care.
And my daughter's helped me with my TikTok because I'm like, and it's funny because even some of the stupid things we've done on there, like dances and stuff, I think it's ridiculous. But like I've had people comment, like when I see them in person, they're like, oh my God, that was so funny, or oh, you're so authentic. I've heard that word a lot. You're so authentic. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But it's I think we have to do all those things. And I was talking to somebody the other day and they were like, if I was not in real estate and had to do this, I would not be on any social media. And I had to think about that. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't be on it near as much, but I get a lot of my business from social media. And I hate to use the word stalk again, but I had a past client during COVID that put on Facebook, are there any realtors out there working during COVID? And then a photographer that I recommend, he posts on there somebody else's name, and that is my client. And I called her right away and I said, why are you posting on Facebook for another realtor? You're mine. But if I had not been looking and on social media, she would have probably taken that recommendation and went and looked at houses with that other realtor, and I would have missed that my past client. So, I always tell people, don't spend too much time on social media, but the time you do spend, make sure it's beneficial. Like do things that are productive, do things that, make it worthwhile, and that's a whole nother class. But,
yeah,
even with for sale by owners and expireds, after you meet with or talk to them the first time, send a video text. That's something that hardly any other realtors are doing. I've got a couple of lenders now that send video texts and I like it.
Esty asked about that last meeting. She wanted to know, how do you do it? I said, you just do a video of yourself on your phone and send it to them via text. It's super, super easy. Or you could put that same video on Facebook Messenger if you know them through there, or you can put it in KV Core, same thing. So you can do a lot of like, don't make it difficult. Don't overthink it.
But I'm so good at that.
Literally, just, I know, but you're not going to get anywhere with that. But
Yeah,
just,
don't
just do a
overthink
video,
it.
just make it happen. I mean, it's okay. And as I told my husband, which he cringed and hated, if you don't like the way you sound, you're going to have to get over that, because that's actually how you sound. Just because your ears hear you differently or see you differently, and you're all beautiful exactly the way you are. And you sound great, by the way. So
Well,
those are my suggestions.
there's a difference between pictures and video, because don't post bad pictures. Don't post bad pictures. We can take pictures again and again, or hold the phone up a little higher, or we can take better pictures. So don't post bad pictures. But video, I mean, if you're sending a video text to somebody, they're not analyzing what you look like that day. I mean, I just took a class with Kyle Draper. He's an awesome social media coach. And he was like, people don't look at what you look like. He goes, look at me. I look like Mr. Incredible inflated. I mean, and he does. He's got these little skinny legs where he wears skinny jeans, and he's bigger up top. And he's like, I don't care what I look like. People don't care what I look like. You're listening to me right now, taking advice from me. So, just do it and do the best you can. And sometimes I have to record. Some days I can record it one time and it's perfect. But there's other days I have to re-record it 3 or 4 times, because I'm like, why did I say that? That sounded dumb.
I put a link to the Halo Hub in the chat. Go grab it now and click in it, bookmark it, and then you're going to have everything you're going to possibly need. Scroll down to the section that says marketing. There's a bunch of things they're all Canva templates. If you don't know how to do that, give me a call. I can show you how to do it. Canva's a free website. You sign up for free and you just put in your information. You download it to your phone or your computer and you post it, whatever it is. There's also a bunch of other stuff on there too that's helpful as well. But marketing is down at the bottom. So click it, bookmark it, and I update it all the time. Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's great to see your faces. Okay, that's all we got. I will post this training on the Facebook page. So if you need to refer to it again, you'll have it.
All
Thank
right.
you all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you later.
Kevin, thank you.
Bye.
Alicia, thank you. Guys,
Yeah,
have a great week.
Thanks.
Bye.